What if the monster you feared most lurked not in shadowed alleys or cursed springs, but in the mirror's mocking mule, a feline phantom that pawed at your primal pulse, the soft scrape of claws on silk sheets like secrets sloughing off in sleep, the musky warmth of fur brushing your fevered skin like a forbidden caress, the faint fishy whiff of alley cats mingling with the metallic tang of midnight rain on rusted roofs, and eyes, slitted sly, reflecting back a self splintered, where boy and beast blur in the beast within, your breath catching like a collar too tight around a throat that knows no true shape? This is the terror of the tamed wild, where hope's hesitant hum wars with despair's dirge, sacrifice the silent stroke binding bravado to buried breaks, identity a riddle wrapped in red pigtails and ripped GI, evoking the fractured facades of Jekyll's shadowed study, where one potion's pour unleashes the hide that howls home, not in horror's howl but in the heartbreaking hunt for harmony amid the haves. One martial misfit's meow, a dojo's unwitting waltz, what whiskered whisper in your wardrobe waits to unravel the weave. On October 4th, 2025, as harvest moons hung heavy over streaming hearths worldwide, Ranma 1/2, 2024, Rumiko Takahashi's timeless Tangle Reborn, struck its second season's opening chord with Episode 1, Ranma's Weakness, the sprightly sequel in a sophomore symphony that cartwheels from Season 1's spring-soaked setups into the slapstick spasms of deeper dysfunctions, bridging the betrothal's bedlam to the brink of bared souls. It hooks from the half-hidden haze, a classmate's crush curdling into curses, a kendo king's collusion cracking codes unspoken, and chaos cascading in catnip-scented calamity, teasing the tangle of taboos without tipping the tragic teacup. Like the coyote's cunning in Looney Tunes' canyon chases, where one anvil's arc always arcs back to anvil's embrace, it drops you in the dojo's dusty dim, mallet mid-swing in your mitt, the air thick with anticipation's acrid aftertaste as if your phobia prowled the rafters. Have you ever felt a fear furball up from the gut, its growl a grim reminder that the self you spar with spars hardest? That's the hook here. Not the havoc's hilarity, but the hitch in your heart hankering. How does one weakness weave the stronger thread, swing the stick, the shadows stir, sly with secrets unspooled, threading from Season 1's splashy soirees, where curses cascaded like cheap champagne at a shotgun wedding, echoing the envoys of the importance of being earnest where one mistaken missive misfires matrimonies. This sophomore salvo splashes into scholastic shadows, Hikaru Gosen Kuji's gloom-glazed gaze on Akane igniting an unholy pact with Tatewaki Kuno, their quest for Ranma's Achilles heel hacking at hidden horrors in voodoo-veiled vengeance. No interlude interrupts the ingress. It's a seamless segue, from fiancé's fray to frailty's frolic. Vignettes vivify a vendetta veiled in black arts, dolls dancing on strings of spite as hapacize hijinks hurl the hamlet into hysterics, feline furies fraying facades long fortified. Amid dojo dust-ups and dojo denials, alliances alchemize awkwardly, Akane's anchor adrift in the absurdity's undertow, all funneling toward a fulcrum where fear flays the fighter bare, fleeting flourishes flare, mallets meeting maleficence like Monty Python's holy hand grenades, kisses kindled in catastrophes kindle, confessions coiling like cats in corners, all building to a horizon hazy with half-revealed hearts. It's a coiled crescendo, this episode, from Crush's covert creep to catastrophe's comic crest, strands snagging like silk on thorns. What hex hides the heart's true hex? How does a doll's prick pierce the pride? You crouch there in the candle-flickered gloom, pins pricking your palm like promises half-pinned, the dojo's draft dancing with distant yowls, pulse pounding to the prank's precarious pitch, parched for the punchline's poignant pull. The fade flickers like a faulty fuse, but the freezones fester, fierce, flickering, fomenting a frenzy to fan the flames further. Episode 1 catapults the comedy like a cat from a cannon, buoyant yet biting, faithfully filching manga's chapters 14 to 16. The Gosen Kuji cat phobia arc, where occult oddities outpace martial mayhem, into a narrative needle that pricks from peripheral pining to pivotal pandemonium, sans the source's sprawling side sketches on supernatural sidekicks. Revelations ripple with relish, the phobia's primal pang, hapacize havoc as harmonic hijack, a cliffhanger creaking with convened catastrophe as confessions crest on compromised codes, alliances teetering toward tangled trysts. No narrative non-starter. Instead, a vault from vendetta's veil to vulnerability's vaudeville, pacing a punch-drunk poise that parcels pratfall's punch with poignant pauses, dramatic denouement echoing the manga's mischievous meter, where exposition erupts from environmental escapades rather than enumerated encyclicals, fan-fretted, cloudy aspects. Gosen Kuji's grimoire gimmick's guff or genuine grudge. The phobia's provenance. Phobia's fix a feline fancy or father's folly. Hapacize handouts hasty or harbinger of hilarity. The arc's abrupt abutment post-shampoo's splashy splashdown, evaporate under manga's mantle. Chapter 14 codifies the voodoo as vaudevillian vent, Gosen Kuji's gloom a gothic gloss on unrequited's underbelly, his dolls a deliberate dialectic drawing out dormant dread dreads, Takahashi's tongue-in-cheek tribute to Tanuki tales, the anime's abbreviated allusions, a sidelong sneer at Sasuke's original omission, Kuno's kendo kinship, honing this without harangue, the phobia's pedigree pulses from paternal programming, per chapter 15's flashbacks to Genma's cat-cradle cruelties, resolving riddles with rhythmic retrospection from the source's stratified slapstick. Its erudite escalation, this episode, alchemizing ambiguities to allegros, reminiscent of the Addams Family's macabre merriment, where one seance's seance summons the silly. Here, it invites you to ink-ant the intervals, senses steeped in the spell. Ranma romps as Riddle's rogue, his bravado a brittle bauble over buried beasts, motivations moored in manga's mournful marrow, curses cumulative cleavages as catalyst for cloistered claws, choices like cat denial a coda to concealed cataclysms, wounds well in wistful whines, Akane's anchor as aching allure, dialogue droll yet dawning dread, surprising in its seismic shift from swagger to shivers, transformative as chapter 16's nascent nod to narrative nuance. Gosen Kuji glooms as Goth's gambit, his crush a carapace concealing sacrificial sinews, growth glimmers in gregarious grapples. Manga's undercurrents unveil his as anchor's apprentice, utterances unyielding yet unveiling yearnings for yield, consistent in creep's cadence yet cracking in climax's clutch. Akane anchors as alter ego's anthem, her ire a rampart against relational roulette. Their silhouettes sharpen as sonatas. Ranma's recoil, less recoil than reluctant reveal. Gosen Kuji's gambit, a fissure in facade's finery. Were they transformative? Tellingly, akin to Scott Pilgrim's sparring sparks, where one vegan vampire's vexation vexes the victor. I personally was struck by Ranma's raw recoil. What whiskered whisper in your wardrobe wails the wild within? Phobia here purrs not mere panic but personhood's plaint. Does dread's dirge define the duel, or distill the divided self's dialect? It palpitates in Ranma's recoil, wrestling world's wolf in woven worries. His halt's a harmonic of humility and hidden heat, and Gosen Kuji's gloom, morality's measured meter where sacrifice scores the suitor's soul, hopes halting him against despair's discordant drone. Beyond bars, it burgeons in Akane's ambit, a Jungian quiver querying can curse catalyze the core, the clawed claim the crown, resonant as Fight Club's fractured fisticuffs, where one alters anarchy anoints the authentic. Its vein-valved rumination, veining vices to our own vexed vexations. In the wardrobe of the wary, what silence summons your shadow? Lore layers lightly like lace on a locket. The Naruma nexus a nexus of nonsense, where Jusenkyo juices juice the juiciest jests, phobias as folklore's filigree, complicating the cosmos with manga's chapter 14 codicil of occult overlays. Voodoo as vaudevillian varnish, enriching the ether without excess. The dojo drifts from domicile to dollhouse of dreads, its axioms a archipelago of anomalies that allure as they augment. Script snaps sharp as a cat's snap, poetic in its punchline's precision, lines like Ranma's recoil raps cliché-culled, laden with lore's levity, impactful as aphorisms that abide after applause like Wilde's witticisms, snappy, synaptic, summoning the snark beyond the screen. Foreshadow frolics in flippancies, resonance in riposts that reverberate post-pilot, such as Gosen Kuji's gloom a gothic gloss carrying grudges grit. Its banter that bites, each barb a beacon. What winged word from your witty wars might wing the weight from your wings? Studio Mappa's mastery manifests as mischief's montage, fluid fusions of frantic fisticuffs and feline frenzies, symbolism in scarlet scratches, crimson's clawing against cerulean curses, channeling Akira's urban unrest in ultramarine, where lighting lashes like lantern leaks, shadows schooling spooks in silhouette. It mirrors marrow, Ranma's ken arcing from austerity to affray, Gosen Kuji's gloom expanding in enigmatic expanses. Usti operates as oracle's opus, motifs of mischievous marimbas murmuring through string swell surges, elevating entreaties to epic's edge, silence and sabotage's suspension shriller than shattered shells. Did that suspended synth, mid-mockery, mimic the held hitch of a heart's half-beat, etching like error in echo? Kappei Yamaguchi's Ranma romps in raucous resolve, timbre a tempered, treble that trembles on threshold's brink, intensity incarnating irony's itch. Noriko Hidaka's Akane anchors with acerbic allure, tremors teasing the tender under taunt's torrent, while Gosen Kuji's gloom grates with gothic grace, delivery a diaphanous drift. Stellar showings, voices not voicing but vibrating, vesting verve in vocal voltage. This episode electrifies with an ebullience that's equal parts exhilaration and exasperation. The phobia's frenzied frolic frayed my fringes like fur balls in a frenzy, wonder welling in the warp of will's weaving, moments of mirrored malfunctions leaving laughter's ligature, scars of schadenfreude sparking subversive sympathies. I felt fizzed, fortified in Ranma's fortitude, echoing my own escapades evading the everyday entanglements where one off-kilter outburst overthrows the ordinary. Veiled in vignettes vivacity, the vertex vaults as vicinities vivisecting in vibrant vortex, a fulcrum where feints fracture, fates fusing like the breakfast club clubs break through birthing bonds from bunkers. It iterates indelibly. In the idiom of the irked, does one imp's impudence impel the infinite? You hoard it, this hilarity, philosophical pixels patterning private puzzles. What pint-sized provocateur in your playlist pricks the prickly path to paradise? The glitch gleams, unpatched, plug in, and play the prankster's part to reverse rifling the riffs. Velocity's verve, fans flag as frenetic in farce's flood, reframes as romcom's rocket, a stylistic simulacrum of slapstick sprint, mirroring the manga's mischievous momentum to marinate the madness's marrow. Clichés cling might cramp creativity, yet its thematic truss, tethering tropes to trenchant twists akin to Looney Tunes' timeless tantrums, where anvil arcs anoint the absurd. Vocal variances veer vivaciously in villainy, read Vixen's verve, but this vivifies the vivisecting vapidity's veil. Adoration adheres, discerning dissection defers to delight. Flaws as fireworks in a festival of frolic. Episode 1 exalts in effervescent exchanges and evocative ensembles. It sprints slight stutter a sprightly spur. It consummates its caper, catalyzing clichés cash into cathartic cavalcade, narrative nerve netted with naughty nuance. To thumb one's nose at the tune-up is to tune out the tumult's tune. The claws click, daring your deadlock. What if this whiskered whirlwind whirled your wardrobe, her yowls yanking the yarn of your yarn? The screen summons, siren sharp, surrender, and savor the sting of serendipity's slap. Have you ever chased the ghost of a kiss stolen in the haze of battle? Not a tender press of lips, but a brand of fate, tasting of salt and spite, that lingers like the copper bite of blood on your tongue after a lover's quarrel turned to war? Or felt the prickle of forgotten fingers tracing your spine, a touch erased not by time's gentle fade, but by a pinpoint of pressure that unravels the threads of your heart's haphazard map. In Ranma 1/2, 2024, Season 2 Episode 2, aired October 11, 2025, this venomous vow uncoils within the series' sprawling spring of chaos, extending Season 1's tangled betrothal into the Amazonian undercurrents where curses compound like echoes in a cursed well. Mirroring the obsessive pursuits of Medea in Euripides' vengeful verses or the unyielding oaths of wartime brides in Hemingway's shadowed salons, it pierces identity's fragile veil. What remains of us when memory's merciless needle plucks our affections threadbare? I watched, breath caught in the throat like a half-swallowed sigh, intriguing in its audacious amnesia, a siren's call that caresses without committing to the crash. Can you taste it, reader, that faint herbal tang of exotic incenses mingling with the dojo's sweat-soaked tatami, the distant clamor of pursuit pounding like war drums in your pulse? The episode doesn't unveil the unraveling. It unspools it, each forgotten fragment a filament drawing you deeper. What silenced secrets might your own recollections reclaim if pricked just so? From Episode 1's buoyant re-immersion, Hapasai's lecherous larcenies and Yukio's okonomiyaki overtures stirring the tendo pot to a frothy simmer. This second surge surges with serpentine pursuit, Shampoo's silhouette slicing through Narima's neon-veiled nights like a shadow from silken scrolls. Ranma, ensnared in the everyday entanglements of schoolyard skirmishes and sibling spats, collides with this crimson-maned cyclone, a warrior's whirlwind of walks and wrath, her arrival a cascade of culinary cataclysms that upends the household's hard-won harmony. Akane, anchor amid the absurdity, anchors affections anew, her routines rent by relentless rivals, fleeting frames of mentorship from Cologne T's tactical tapestries yet to tighten. It transitions the arc from domestic discord to diasporic duels, each evasion a eddy pulling toward deeper deceptions. Picture yourself in the fray, the sizzle of spatulas scorching your nostrils, the sting of flung flour flecking your lashes as loyalties lash out. Does the encroaching eclipse of erasure chill your core, or does a defiant glance ignite the embers of recall? The narrative doles its doses deftly, each dart a decoy for the delirium to come. What veiled vendettas might the next strike unmask? Episode 2 propels the pandemonium with the precision of a pressure point struck true, metastasizing Season 1's foundational fisticuffs into the Amazon arc's exotic escalation. Revelations of ancient edicts, a kiss as contractual curse, blooming into a twist of tactical torment. Shampoo's shiatsu, a surgical severing that spirals into comedic carnage, teetering on a cliffhanger where restorations dangle like droplets over the drowned man's brink. Pacing pirouettes with playful prowess, manic melees moderated by moments of musing melancholy, equilibrating the slapstick with the saga's simmering stakes akin to the rhythmic reversals in Shakespeare's As You Like It, gendered guises yielding to heartfelt havoc. Dramatic balance beams bright, yet devotees debate cloudy aspects. Shampoo's swift savagery. Why pursue with such perilous passion? The Nikoken's nebulous nudge, a feline phobia flickering without full flare. Akane's abrupt amnesia, a void that vexes as much as it vaults the plot. Rooted in manga's Volume 3, Chapters 20-22, Takahashi's serialized strokes in Weekly Shonen Sunday, 1987-88, where the adaptation adaptation amplifies emotional ellipses for runtime rhythm. These hazes clarify as cultural codas. Shampoo's fervor flows from Jusenkyo's jurisdictional kiss of life lore, a tribal taboo binding victor to vanquished, her aggression a amplified archetype of arranged affinity, transforming opacity into operatic oath. The cat curses koi cameo, a deliberate deferral from Chapter 21's full frenzy, teasing Takahashi's phobia motif, inspired by her own aversion anecdotes in interviews, to heighten horror's hook without hastening the haunt. Akane's erasure, expounded in Chapter 22's coda, underscores the manga's motif of selective silences, memory as martial maneuver, enriching the segment with relational reverberations. This advancement doesn't ambush, it accrues, layering legacies as legend. The principles pulse with profound pliancy, interiors illuminated like lanterns in a lantern-lit labyrinth. Ranma ricochets from roguish resilience to rattled reverence, his latent laceration the labyrinth of loathing, self and suitors alike. Motivations a melee of macho bravado masking maternal yearnings, choices, deflecting daggers with deft dodges, delving into desperation's depths, consistent in their chaotic charisma yet transformative, surprising in a stutter of sincerity that strips his swagger, evoking the vulnerable volleys of Cyrano de Bergerac's shadowed swashbuckles. Shampoo storms as seductive stormbringer, her hidden hunger for hearth beneath the huntress helm, growth glimpsed in grudging glimpses of grace. Akane, the unyielding unifier, unveils motivations marbled with masochistic might, her amnesia a crucible catalyzing quiet quests for self. Consistent, as capricious curses, transformative, in the tussle's twist, yes, evolution etched in every evasion. The episode entwines entanglements enigmas, power's precarious perch in pursuit, where morality melds in the mire of mandated matrimony, sacrifice a subtle strike that severs self for the sake of the sworn. Beyond broad strokes, these quandaries quicken through quests. Shampoo's shiatsu a moral meridian on consent's compass, manifesting in Akane's amnesiac adrift, a survival semaphore echoing Nietzsche's eternal recurrence or the sacrificial severances in the Bacchius bacchanal binds. Does hope's hidden hook reclaim the heart, or does despair's deft deletion delineate the divide? Ranma's feline flinch probes the precipice. Identity as illusion, choice as a choreography of chaos amid calamity's caress. Lore lavishes luxuriantly. The Amazon enclave's edicts, kisses as kinships, defeats as dowries, complicate the cosmos with cultural confluences, Jusenkyo's jurisdictional jests now nested in Narima's nooks, enriching the realm with rules of reciprocal ruin, where history's hot springs haunt the hyper-real hearth. The script scintillates like a splashed silhouette, sharp as a spatula's slice, poetic in its pugnacious patter, alchemizing archetype into acerbic aureus. Ranma's retorts ripple with roguish relish, foreshadowing fiascos that fester post-fade like wild's witty wounds. Shampoo's sultry summons, laced with linguistic lilt, resonate with the rally of romantic rondos. Impactful, intoxicating, each barb a bridge of banter and bite, binding you to the brawl. Hear Akane's amnesiac inquiry intone like a lost lover's litany in Austen's ambiguous assemblies. Does it hollow your chest, this verbal void? The words don't wage war, they woo, each quip a quandary quickening the quick. Mappa's mastery manifests in mercurial motion. Fluid flurries of flung fare, forms flickering in feminine finery that symbolize shifting semblances, vermilion vials of venom vivid against dojo's drab-drabs. Lighting layers longing, lantern-lit lulls gilding gatherings, shadows surging in shiatsu strikes to evoke existential eclipse. Stillness in Akane's abstracted ether contrasts Shampoo's sinuous surges, beauty a bittersweet brew, not bauble, but blade, the ballet of blush and bruise birthing emotional eddies, the vista's vigor, sweeping shots of walk-world whirlwinds mirroring multiplicity's maelstrom, intimate insets and snaring eyes in erasure's embrace, editing's erratic ebbs echoing amnesia, that amplifies ache, akin to Wong Kar-wai's in the mood for love gazes into the gulf. Composition's cradle cataclysms, each frame a fissure for feeling's flood. The OST orchestrates as a cult oracle, opener's upbeat undulation mutating into martial minuets, haunting hollows with harmonic hushes, crescendos cresting in choral clashes that corrode like cat claw scratches. Silence swells supreme in memory's mausoleum, a motif mightier than any melee, etching auditory afterimages akin to the lulls in Rashomonous rainy reckonings. Siyu summons spirits from the springs. Yamaguchi's Ranma quavers with querulous quirk, timbre a tensile tremolo embodying eternal equivocation. Hayashibara's Akane layers lacerated lucidity with latent longing, intensity igniting her inner inferno. Shampoo's sultry timbre, a velvet viper's hiss, coils conquest with coy craving, deliveries delving deep, drawing you into the decibel deep as if your plea might pierce the pall. This episode eviscerated equilibria, despair's dank drip diluting delight, wonder wakened at the warrior's whimsical wrath, scars from Akane's abstracted absence that scar like the stigmata of spurned spouses in Bronte's brooding moors. Moments of mandated unmerited mercy left luminous lacunae, sparks in the shiatsu's sudden severance igniting and insert. The reveries remain, a rift unbridged, through reverse reading, the frenzied flurries, pacing's percussive plunge, the opacity of oath-bound obsessions, might murmur as maelstrom, complexities clotting into conundra. Yet recast. These are romantic radicals, thematic throbs echoing Takahashi's tangled tapestries, where veils of vendetta invite the viewer's vigilant voyage. Shampoo's shadow a deliberate diminuendo to the dawn. Appreciation arcs over critique, visceral virtuosity as vanguard, though a subtler segue might soothe the skeptics. Balanced, it's a breaker of brilliance, frailties as fervent fortissimos. Episode 2 triumphs in its tangled tapestry, character crevices carved with capricious care, narrative nuances navigating nebulae of nexus, an artistic assault that alchemizes Takahashi's trove into tactile tumult. Weaknesses, whispered in the wake, fleeting phrase informs flux, occasional overload of ostinatos. It prevails pulsatingly, a spell of spring and soul, narrative notes nailed to the nexus. Yet heed this, the promise that pricks like a pressure point poised. What if the vow you void is the one that vows your victory? Witnessing isn't whim, it's the splash through your senses, the descent into the dojo where your dormant duels demand their due. Splash bold. The Amazon awaits your advance.